Well, let me tell you a little something about me. When it's Saturday night, I need to blow off some steam. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I've been rolling in since the clock came Monday morning. From the end of the week, I'm bound to blow. We're walking to the honky tonk like a pack of wolves now. Order up around the traps and it's away we go.
Well, good afternoon or good day, huh?
Good day, my friend.
This is equipment talk coming from IRAY, and we're going to start out another equipment talk here on the podcast, and we just want to thank everybody for being with us today. Also, why don't everybody name off who's here? Why don't you start with you, Logan?
Logan's here, present.
Cool. And?
Present.
Who's present?
Jordan is present.
Jordan is. All right, Jordan. All right.
Dang.
Troy?
Troy came to say hi.
Troy's here to say hi as well. Well, we're all on stage here again, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we're going to start with a new talk here. And I guess, Jordan, you've been good at starting them out. So why don't you take a turn here and go ahead and start out this time? I know we did Logan last time, and we don't want to let him get all the glory. So you go ahead and start it out here, okay?
Shareholders for Caterpillar vote to support. Shareholders vote for as you sow shareholders resolution.
Well, the shareholders resolution, did you kind of read up on that deal a little bit?
Hardly.
Oh, you hardly did. Okay. Well, they're having a little trouble there, and they're having trouble with the emissions. They are trying to get Caterpillar to move into the new era, which is to get their emissions down at a certain percentage by a certain year. And Caterpillar just hasn't been real cooperative, is what they're saying. And a lot of the people that have shares in Caterpillar are telling them that, hey, we want to see some type of a chart of how we're going to get them emissions down so we can stay competitive in the market. What do you think of that?
Well, it makes sense. I mean, in the article here, it says that, Caterpillar with, $68 trillion in assets is, and basically says here that, they're kind of one of the largest carbon emitters globally.
Yeah. Largest carbon emitters.
They're some of the largest heavy equipment,
Dealers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they've got a lot of equipment, but not only that, they have a lot of different types of products as well. Caterpillar owns a lot of different parts of the industry, which goes everywhere from from the construction industry to the mining industry to we can go on. They have a lot of shares in the industry. Now, with that being said, they're actually they've been working towards their shareholders making commitments as far as to the EPA and other resolutions that they're supposed to make to cut the carbon in of what they've been actually putting out for emissions. And they really haven't set any real precedents on how they're going to accomplish that like other companies have. So their shareholders are telling them, hey, we need something and we need it now, so let's get to work on it, and let's get moving with this deal so we're not in last place when it comes down to the emissions part of it, because otherwise what's going to happen with us? We're going to be in trouble, and our market share is going to drop, and we don't like that.
Lose confidence.
Yep, and those shareholders, there's a ton of them. There's quite a few shareholders in Caterpillar, of course, because it's a big corporation, right?
Yes, huge.
So they voted to support it, but they haven't came up with a plan yet, and they said that they're going to do that soon. So that's one that's going to be coming on your plate. Watch Caterpillar. They're actually doing is they're going to start coming up with a plan to cut emissions, and we'll see how they're going to do that. You know, I've seen some of their dozers. I've seen some of the other stuff that they have, and they're going electric on it, and they're going with you know, with a generator on board, just like some of the dozers that they have, and they run the electric motors, and I'm sure that's cut some of the emissions, but I think that as far as the way they were saying about Caterpillar and the shareholders and everything else, that they didn't really come up with a good enough plan. Like John Deere and Hitachi, you know, they were partners as far as with the excavators and stuff like that, and they came up with a 30% cut in percentage by 2030. So somebody else has to come on board and do the same type of deal. Zero emissions, they're saying that the target base for zero emissions is going to be 2050. Well, that's to be said, you know, but 2050 is a little ways off, and that'll be seen, right?
I guess we'll
Give it-
see what happens.
give it
there.
30
There's
years.
a big push from climate activists and such. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
guess they could have seen that one coming.
well, I think that, you know, that what happens with this last few years here, you know, they've been saying it with the government's been saying, hey, you know, 2032, we want you to be there. Look at the automakers. You know, the automakers were supposed to be involved in this as well, and they really didn't take notice or do what they should like they promised until Elon Musk turned around and said, well, we're all electric. We're going all electric, and we're going to kick some tail here. And he has been. He's been kicking tail pretty hard and heavy. And that made them wake up. Well, Ford came on now with their Lightning Ford, right? With the with the electric truck. So, you know, there's a lot of other makers that are actually taking heed to that as well. So, but it's all good in the industry. You just got to make sure that you know, that you can actually change over to do it, because Corvette back in the early 80s, they had to shut down the Corvette factory for 1 year. So there was 1 year they never even made the car a Corvette.
1983.
That's right. 1983 was the year the Corvette did not make a
Actually, I
Corvette.
remember that too because I have an 84 Corvette and there was no 83. It just went from 82 to 84.
Yep, you got one of the first Corvettes right there, don't you?
Of that design.
At least the newer ones.
Of the new style there, you bet. And the other thing is, did you know in 1984 they never made a convertible?
Yeah, just the hard top. With
Yep,
the removable
just made a
top.
removable hardtop. That's right. So there's a lot of you know, a lot of things that they have taken consideration from the history of when you have to retool and change design and figure out how you're going to put this deal together. So all I'm saying is that it's an example that you can look at. All these manufacturers have to really spend some money, tool up, and just think you're offline for a year. You ain't selling anything. And it's going to take you probably that 6-8 months to probably get going once you get into the year being retooling. So it's a whole different animal. And I'm sure that other manufacturers know about it, and I'm sure they're taking heed to it. So it's cool.
Got a funny article that's up next. Jordan, why don't you read the
You guys
headline?
want to
on
do
that
some
next one?
drugs?
What's that?
Do some
You
drugs.
guys want to do some drugs?
What do you mean, do
Drugs
drugs?
are bad. Okay, disclaimer.
Well, you know, on construction sites, drug use is up.
Well,
Have you
that-
met construction workers?
Let me just read this quote. This quote right here. While positive cocaine urine drug tests have steadily declined in construction, the industry topped the list for the 5th year in a row with a 0.3%
God.
positivity rate in 2021.
well, you know, just think about this, guys. Do they sell drugs in different states legally now?
Yes.
Yes.
Some states,
They're selling these marijuana gummies and stuff, right?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
they're selling these vape things that you gotta, you know, you inhale, and you know, they've got some of that marijuana and stuff, don't they?
Mhm.
Yeah. So you know, and they're
A little bit of
expected.
misconstrued data there.
I'm sorry.
A little bit of misconstrued data. You know, in one place where it's legal, you know, where they may fail a drug test. In other places, it's not legal and they're failing drug tests. You know, so it's
Oh.
kind of weird how that data looks.
That was
you know?
Well,
my biggest
Well, not
concern when
cocaine
they.
though. You know? Okay.
That was my biggest concern is when they legalized it is how workplaces were gonna adapt to it, or if they were just gonna shut it still down completely.
Well, or even still,
Well, I
if
don't
you have
think
a
that
medical-
using drugs and the operation of heavy equipment is ever a good idea.
Exactly.
Even like cocaine, like, what are you gonna do? Drive the equipment faster or
Are you gonna run
operate it longer?
or run beside it?
Yeah, right. Heck, take some cocaine. You might not even need the dozer anymore. Just grab a shovel.
Yeah. Well, you could probably get rid of 3 guys or something, huh? So I don't know.
That's crazy, though. It's surprising to see that. There's it's an increase basically in a lot of drug use in a lot of industries, including the construction industry.
But are they saying it's use, or are they saying it's they took a test and they failed? Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that means that if one of their workers had a card that said that he legally can take this for his ailments or whatever, and he went in there and took the old test, they still tested him positive, even though he really wasn't positive on the work site. So, but he was positive because it's in a system, and he took it, the night before, or for whatever reasons it is. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons people take different types of drugs just to maintain or just to function in this world too. So who knows?
I was
What's
gonna say
interesting to me is they use urine test, which for like marijuana is like can be in your system for a month through urine. But if you do like a blood test, it's like a couple hours. Because wouldn't you rather know if they're on site high or like just high when
Yeah,
they're
but
off work or
Yes,
whenever?
I worked construction for quite a few years. There's a lot of things that I feel like aren't being put into context here. The reason for cocaine and methamphetamine use, I will almost guarantee, is because of the lack of workers and the guys that are there having to do 3 times the amount of work and running out of time to do so.
so you're talking like meth, right?
Yeah, or meth, cocaine. I mean, I feel like cocaine. If you're a construction worker and you can afford to do cocaine, you must be single. But
Oh my gosh. Okay.
it's the drive to push harder. It's the drive to get more done. It's the drive to work longer days and still feel capable of doing so. So I mean, I get that part.
I'm sure there's a lot of factors that go into why people use drugs. Doesn't change the fact that it's probably not a good idea.
Well,
Especially when you're working with equipment and tools and things of that nature. It just
Things that can level
the-
houses.
yeah, the risk factor goes up pretty significantly, especially when you're talking about opiates or drugs like that make you
hallucinate.
the opposite of more work. They make you like just sit there and zone out or something, So very interesting statistics here.
It's interesting that opiates are really positive in mining.
Well, yeah, because
They
that's
feel like
you
crap
see the use case of it.
afterwards.
Yeah, they feel like crap after work. They're done been hauling rocks all over the place, so they're like, yeah, I think
Man,
I'm
my
gonna
back
just,
hurts.
So
yeah, I'm gonna go.
if you think about this, they even said they named off more than one place. Like in the food service business, in 2017 it was at 4.6%. Now in 2021 it's 6.5%. And if you went up to administrative, it says waste and reclamation services, it was 4.5%. It went up to 5.5%. Now in the construction industry, it went from 4.5 to 4.6. Is that a huge number? Well, it depends on how many more construction workers are out there in the field. You know what I mean? From 2017 on up to 2021. Now, it's also saying that in the healthcare industry, it was 4.6 and went to 5.1. So who's taking care of us guys out there? And in the mining industry, it went to 3.8 on up to 3. Well, it went down 3.7. So in
The
the
highest one on here is the retail trade went from
Wait.
5.2% to 7.0%.
What you guys don't see on this chart is pandemic hit like right after 2019, and everything went up.
as far as price, you mean?
Well, no, it went like the drug use went down from 2017 to 2018 on most of these cases, even in 2019 it went down again, and then as soon as 2020 hit, it went up, and then 2021 it went up.
So you're thinking more people are under more pressure, or otherwise they're just maybe they're having too much time by themselves and they don't like themselves anymore the way they are. I don't know.
Exactly.
You know, it's
Like, they're bored sitting in their house all the time.
yeah.
Just-
Well,
Yeah,
it's
well, I just hope that the guys on the side of the road out there doing the road construction outside my house right now aren't
Aren't-
high.
aren't doing their stuff. Well, see, here's another one that kind of scares me is that it says the transportation and the
Oh my
warehousing, it said it went from 3.5 in 17 on up to 5.5 in 2021. Who's driving these people around? You know what I'm saying? And how many?
That's even more concerning.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, there goes my grandma. She's getting a ride here. It's like, uh-oh, we got to watch out for that deal.
Like,
So,
God dang bus driver.
well, you just don't know. And, and then a lot of people, because, look at the wanted signs and the help wanted signs and all this out there. I looked in the paper here, which a lot of you guys don't read the paper anymore. I look at it every once in a while. All I seen was 4 pages, and this was just up here north of us, up in Mille Lacs County, and it's not a great big county. And there was 4 pages of help wanted ads in there. So think about this. How many people do you think, because they need to get the job done, are turning a blind eye to some of these testings and stuff?
Actually, a lot of them. I mean, Amazon dropped the testing for that. Well, for marijuana for that purpose.
Troy,
So-
you got to speak up. I think you cut out a little bit there. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said Amazon. Well, they had dropped their testing for marijuana because of them having to turn too many people away. They can't.
Whoa.
They can't keep their staff enough. I know a lot of companies. Even when I was working construction, that we would permit things to happen. That I'm trying to think of how to word it, because it's not really permit things to happen, but you end up you don't have enough hands, so you have to concentrate on what you're doing. You can't pay as much attention to what somebody else is doing. They have things
So
that
if
should be acceptable become acceptable out of lack of options.
Yeah. Well, I think it's not. Yeah, it's not necessarily acceptable, but I guess it's where they just turn that blind eye. You know what I mean?
If you turn a blind eye,
Well,
you're
I don't-
choosing acceptance.
Yeah.
Amazon also has one of the worst reps for their employees. Like, they've been rated worst employer, at least their like warehouses, for a while.
Who was that?
Amazon.
Amazon.
Oh wow. Well, they're a huge company and they grew fast. And when you do that, what happens is that things get by you. I'm telling you, they'll slip by you until you can put other policies and procedures in place where people can take care of, managing the workers and the other people around them properly with process and procedures. A lot of them go right out the window. You get a small company. Drug tests. Why would we do a drug test? I know that guy there is not always very active and he doesn't work that hard. I thought he drank too much the night before. I don't know. But I'm just saying that, when it comes down to workers and people, unless you can put enough policies and procedures in place in the workplace, you're going to have those situations pop up no matter what. Because you give people breaks, they go off and they think, oh, that's a boring job. And somebody says, here, you want to smoke this or whatever? Oh, yeah. And they go in there and, oh, golly, this is fun now. I don't know. Golly.
Yeah, let's just hope they're not driving around those brand new Hitachi excavators.
Yeah, that's another subject, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So Hitachi and John Deere, actually, they've been partners for years in the excavators and other equipment too. They've had a partnership because of the fact that Hitachi's been out, in the European market, and John Deere had a pretty good placement in the United States market. So they partnered up for quite some time. The way it sounds right now is that they're going to be parting ways. They're going to part ways, and Hitachi, they've had a strong, their excavators, their equipment has been, built to last, and that's where I think that Caterpillar is going to have a little run for their money on when it comes down to, John Deere and Hitachi and that type of equipment. So did you kind of read up on what they did to the equipment as well to make it more performable and also better on emissions?
Yeah, I was reading a little bit here about, using some DLC coating for reduced wear and revised piston shape, which helps achieve cleaner emissions. I mean, there's a lot of,
Yeah,
upgraded stuff in these things that,
yeah, they started from the bottom up. They actually changed the rails as far as the thickness of the metal on them. They beefed up the idler tension rods on them so that if they did wear, they didn't just wear through. They're way heavier. They also did was they've taken the hydraulics and they've taken the power off. So like your car when you're going down the road and you used to take a lot of power from the engine from the power steering pump. They've taken that away and they put the electro servos on like you have on your car. So, I mean, that's a great idea because now you just took away, when your engine would have revved up when you turn or push, or, or move the stick or the boom or the bucket. Now it's doing is it's electro servo, so it actually will activate itself and won't take away from the power of your engine that's basically running to run the tracks and the swing motor and stuff like that. So they're doing some really wonderful things, I think, out there. So it's no different than some of the vehicles that we have today that they put an 8-speed tranny in them so that we get better mileage, right? And they can put smaller motors in because they don't need as big a motor to drive a smaller transmission. And they've kind of went underneath that theory, I think.
yeah, that's some nice stuff. It would have been nice to crush a car with this unit, huh?
Well, I think you had a big enough unit that day to crush a car that it wouldn't have mattered the size there because you had a bucket heavy enough that you just drop it on there. If you'd have just detached the bucket, you'd have done just as much or worse damage. Yeah, I don't know about you all, if y'all seen that video of the excavator when old Logan, he was sitting up in there. He wanted to be an operator one day, and we brought the IRAY car up, and I had to get out and run away from it because he drops the old bucket right on the roof. But it was pretty accurate, though, wasn't it?
I dropped it right on there. I dropped the top on it. I didn't even mess up the windows.
Didn't mess up either side of the door glasses. That's right. It was kind of cool. I thought, wow, he was lined up perfectly. So
Yep, it turned into a convertible.
it turned into a convertible. Well, it's pretty hard to drive it because the steering wheel is underneath the convertible.
We don't need a steering wheel where we're going.
That's right. Right. There you go. So,
Neutral.
so if you think about this, though, that Hitachi's really taken, they've been taking the bull by the horns, and they're looking at, at changing so many different things, such as your levels of oil, all these things they put into gauges right inside the dash so you can see everything. It's right there in an LCD. Kind of cool, it just makes it so the things are simpler. Just like their filters, they made the filters so they're in a position where you don't get dirt in them when you pull them off, and they're like a 5-minute change versus being a half hour or 45-minute job. So they're doing a lot of cool things.
Yeah, it's just like Caterpillar is doing some cool stuff apparently too, buying a robot company. Did you see that?
The robotics.
Yeah, Caterpillar acquired a robotic specialist I'm sorry, let me read this one more time. Caterpillar acquires robotic specialist Marble Robot Inc. I don't know if that's one word or...
We've talked about this a million times. We could have seen this happening.
That you think if they can't build it, they'll buy it?
Pretty much.
Yeah, where's that company
Man.
out of?
San Fran.
Let me look them up real quick.
Marble Robots, San Francisco, California. Well, who would say, Silicon Valley, they're going to turn around and have to have something that's electric, right? So the robot part is cool. There's a lot of stuff that goes with that. But self-driving vehicle software, right?
Yeah, they were like, man, it's really expensive to outsource this stuff. Let's just buy the company.
Yep. Well, and that's where a lot of people don't understand that, even Caterpillar, when they first started, they had a steering wheel on the front and they had tracks, and then they went in with Best and Holt went together. They made Caterpillar basically, right? So then the old wheel went away, and it went into breaking of the track so they could steer. So they've evolved over the years, and they're going to keep evolving. They know that some of this technology has to be in place with what they're doing, right?
Yes.
So autonomous is basically going to be, autonomous they can use. Doesn't matter if they change out the engine to electric or diesel. It doesn't matter, right? So the unit could drive itself no matter what powers it. Now they have to do is they're going to have to fix that back end part as long as they implement this in, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna, it's just a lot of more. I don't think it's really just more the autonomy part of stuff that they really want. The software side of things. I guarantee you.
One should be able to drive a excavator with a remote controller.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've improved that with that pack thing that was on that one deal that we seen with it, that they put the power pack type deal on the back, and they hooked it up to the controls and stuff.
Yeah, and they just
Yeah.
sit in their job office. And
I don't know if Cat paid for those. They might have.
I think they were showing that you could buy them. It's no different than a GPS. You can put different types of GPSs on different, types of equipment, right?
Yeah.
Some come wired for a certain type, but you can always rewire them. It's not the end of the world. So there's a lot of levels that these guys have got to work out of, but at least they got some, they've got some parts or different places that they can build parts for different types of units, and they could switch gears fairly rapidly with owning another company like this. So Marble is going to help them revolutionize their autonomous part of their industry, and that could go on virtually everything, right?
Yeah.
What do you think, Logan?
I think we're gonna have. Sorry, I'm not Logan.
Oh, no,
Yeah, go ahead,
he
buddy.
Logan. I thought he fell asleep over there. That's why I asked. What do you think, Logan?
No, I haven't fallen asleep. I'm just deep in thought of how amazing it would be.
First, we got Roombas. Now we're just gonna have.
We're gonna have
excavators.
semi-autonomous home dozers.
Well,
I need this whole duh.
Well, they already have them. They have like those miniature skid steers that are remote controlled, and they're like small. They're not huge, and they can do a lot of work. For just somebody at home, and they're a lot less expensive than a big skid steer, or a normal size skid steer, I should say.
What do you
And
think we'll
doesn't
see?
have all the fancy functionality of like the remote control stuff.
What do you think we'll have first? Like RC or like a programmer like yourself? Not really me, but okay, program it to give it coordinates and to dig in a certain spot.
well, I think I wouldn't take that credit away from yourself. As long as you're practicing, then you can preach. But you got to practice first. So if you're gonna, you could program. You just got to keep after it. You could do it. You know that, Jordan. But they can dig. Those guys will have it. So that program. You write the program for the deal. I think the GPS part of it's gonna be part of the program.
Well, you think so?
Yeah.
Set your depths. That way you've got your grade. It'll dig down to grade.
Because when I hear like RC,
CAD system.
I think of like a drone basically.
That makes me feel old because I still think of a car.
An RC.
Yeah, I think of an RC
Yeah.
car.
Well, I mean, drones, RC cars. I mean, they're all
Well,
They're all the same.
kind of the same.
RC cars are a little different.
Well, they
Okay.
all use the same principles. I mean, I'm not talking. I'm not saying the RC car has GPS positioning and all the fancy features that drones usually have and whatnot. But I mean, sending move commands over a remote isn't that fancy, and you could have some really fancy RC controlled vehicles if people just wanted to make them, but nobody makes them. And it's the same thing with all this heavy equipment. I mean, they're going to make some really fancy features in some of this equipment. It's going to blow people's minds when they finally release it and say, "Yep, this is what it is," and people are going to be like, "Wow, that's amazing." That's the power of engineering, baby.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to make it real safe.
Well, I think that that's what they're trying to do because, just like the team said here on, on this particular autonomous, they want to actually create a safer environment, and they also want to give a better plan for the people that are buying this, equipment, and they also want to deliver something that's as smart and safe and a productive and a cost efficient solution for their customers.
Mm-hmm.
So that would bring them to the top of the market, because when you start talking cost effectiveness, right? That's half the battle, because some of the stuff, it's just like you're talking about the cars. If you put it on it, here you got $100,000 car or $200,000 car. Was that cost effective? Well, for the higher class it is, but not for a guy that's driving back and forth to drive his dozer or run his dozer or operate it.
Well, this will get them dopers out of them driver seats.
Yeah,
Oh.
then you don't have to worry about the guys that are taking too much of that drugs over there and stuff. They can let the car drive themselves, and then they can get the ticket. The car does. They don't.
I got a interesting bit of information via Twitter.
All right.
What's that?
Marvel specializes in transportation robotics.
Well, there you go. They must be going to be getting into the auto industry, huh?
Well, it's for like luggage. It's a robot that follows you and it has cargo space.
That follows you?
Yeah,
In what way it follows you?
like if you're walking down an airport,
Oh,
it
where do
will-
you got to fold the robot up,
I don't know.
or
I don't know if
do you rent him at the airport?
I just
you
got
probably rent it at the airport.
Oh, okay.
I just got a vision of the Jetsons. They're
Someone's
made-
bringing their own transportation bot to the airport.
Wheel behind you with a tray, just didn't know what you want. Oh, I got that in my belly. Let me get it for you. It just seems weird. I haven't saw what it is that you're talking
Yeah,
about.
you might have to rent a seat for your luggage carrier, huh?
If you're lucky, you'll get it to fold up and put
These
it in an
better
overhead container. Overhead compartment.
This thing's pretty big.
Thing's pretty big, huh?
I mean, it's about. It would probably be about to my thighs,
Yeah. Well,
about as tall as a table.
everybody's got their deal, but I think that Caterpillar, they're trying to stay ahead of the market, and they're trying to make sure that that they are hitting all aspects of the industry. And I know that their last meeting that they had back was, on our was actually in California. Or no, it was in Canada. Canada is where they had their last meeting, where they're trying to figure out, how they're going to kind of beat the emissions part of it. So I'm sure that some of that has pushed, Caterpillar to buy back into the robotics or into the industry, where they know that they're going to need a lot of this type of operational equipment to make their stuff work, or get probably more effective or less costly as far as that goes.
Or maybe this is.
You
part
sure
of
do
the-
talk about Caterpillar a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
We do?
We like cats. We like cats around here.
Maybe they're just trying on another angle, seeing as they're sucking hind dirt with the emissions. They're got to figure out another angle to keep them investors there.
Yeah. So, yeah, we talk a lot about Caterpillar because Caterpillar does have, they've got a lot of the industry. They do. It doesn't mean that there isn't other units out there that are as good. Caterpillar has spent a lot of money to make their name big, and you're buying a expensive emblem. Let's put it that way. But
And all the keys are the same.
when it comes down to any piece of equipment or anything you're working with, it comes down to two things. One is, can you get the equipment? Number two is, can you keep it running and support the equipment? So if you can get it and you can support it, then it comes down to, there's a cost factor comes in there later, but that comes in there after the fact, because if you don't have the equipment, you can't do the work. And if you can't fix the stuff, if something broke, you can't do the work. So those two are the first key factors in anything you're doing. And Caterpillar's done a great job at it. So,
All right, Ray, when's your next auction?
Well, the next auction coming up is going to be June 22nd. That's Wednesday, June 22nd, and that's going to be our heavy equipment truck trailer auction. Right after that one, we're going to have a July 20th, and that's going to be we're actually selling out JME. They were an equipment company, or I shouldn't say equipment, they were a concrete company, and they were fairly large in the state of Minnesota here. And they sold all the construction or the concrete division. And what we've done is we've actually gotten the contract to sell off their repair facility for JME, and that's where they're going to have a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's going to be everything to fix the truck. Let's put it that way. I mean, hundreds of tires that are brand new and recaps, and on down the line we'll have tools and
Tools, miscellaneous steel. We've got fenders. Basically, you put it on a truck. It's there. We got wheels, seats, mirrors. I mean, quite literally everything.
yeah. So that's coming up after that. But with that being said, we're definitely we're beating feet for the next auction as well, and we're going to be starting. Actually, it's live right now, so you can go online onto IRAYMN.com, and you can put your bids in as we speak.
Check it out. Alrighty, you want to sign us off?
All right. So again, I'm Ray Henry, and we're on Equipment Talk for IRAY Auctions, and I'm signing off. How about you, Troy?
Nice conversation. Thanks for coming.
Logan?
We can't hear you, Troy. You got to speak up. You got to say bye with your chest.
Not too loud now.
Okay.
Loud enough.
Troy Henry, thanks for coming.
All right. See you later, everybody.
Jordan is out.
Thank you all.
See you later, Gordon.
From IRAY.